Hello, student. Hello, masters of your own destiny. How is everybody doing? Thank you so much for being back here with me from Suarez basement. Really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you guys. Because again, putting this video podcast together are no easy thing to do. We put a lot of love and effort to producing this video podcast in order to keep you entertained and informed and educated. So the fact that you are watching us means the world to us. It really, really does. Okay, so it seems that we have good news, guys. It means, or seems like we're going to be able to interact with each other in September, that we're going to be able to come back to classes. And that makes me very, very happy. I cannot wait to see you in person and to be able to interact with you. Of course, taking the steps that we need to take to keep ourselves safe and healthy, using our masks. We will wrap ourselves in plastic wrap if it's necessary. But the good part is that we're going to be safe and we're going to be able to come back to classes. And that is very exciting. At least for me, it's really, really cool. Our guest today is Paco Correa. Paco has an extensive history and experience in television production and promotion. He was responsible to launch Nickelodeon in Latin America. He was head of production and promotion for HBO Latin America. He has 4 Emmys under his belt, and he is the CEO and president of his own company, Pacovision. So it's a great guest to have. And like I always do, I invite students to be part of the conversation. In this case, they are waiting for us. Emma Levine is here. She is brilliant, and I cannot wait to see what the future is preparing for her. Daniel Hernandez is also here to have a conversation with Paco, also a brilliant individual. He was in my script writing class. The subject today is Hispanic Media in the US, which I actually teach in SUNY Oswego. So this is for me a treat to be able to have this conversation with Paco. Thank you guys for being here, and let's start our video podcast of today right away. Here we go. Hi, Paco. So welcome and thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Great to be here.
It is a pleasure. So let's start with Emma. Emma, you can start, and whatever you want. Let's start the conversation.
Sure. First off, I loved your website. I loved the introductory video. I thought it was so awesome to kind of have that.
Thank you.
You see everything right away. You know exactly what you're about. And my question to you was, where do you start? Because you seem to have so many clients in different directions. So like the adaptations, the writing, the directing. Where was your first passion?
My first passion has been creative. Creative, doesn't matter if it's in English or in Spanish or no words, always has been my passion. I mean, I like it. I like the visual. I like the playing with the words and everything else. I appreciate immensely a good commercial, something that will actually make me cry or something that would make me laugh. Like, for me, that is actually nirvana. Because of the fact that I actually have many years of experience with the Latino markets and everything else, and particularly a lot of experience adapting and everything. Started first with Nickelodeon for Latin America and then for HBO in Latin America. And then after I left HBO, I said, you know what? This is actually a good opportunity because everybody was telling me, you have a niche. And the niche is a lot of people are trying to actually do advertising or whatever it is from English to Spanish. And we don't have that many people as you would think. For example, we were looking for producers at HBO Latino, and they said, oh, that's easy. We have like millions of people here that they speak Spanish. Not really. A lot of people speak Spanish, but not a lot of people can do this. And that's the issue. We spent months and months looking for the right person that could actually do it. They would say, I speak Spanish, prove it. I needed you to speak it. I needed you to learn it, understand it, be able to switch back and forth without an issue. So,
and Paco, the other thing that is interesting is not talking only about the language, right? Can you speak Spanish, but can you understand the Hispanic culture? Because it's not only about speaking a language. I can be fluent in Spanish, but I may not be necessarily identified with Hispanic culture. So it's not only about how to translate from one language to another one, but how to translate it in a cultural way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. That's actually one of the things that if you actually see the logo of my company, is Pacovision Transcreative. It is basically, it is not only, Transcreative is a conjunction that some people have invented and came up with, a word that is basically when you just don't do translation. Translation or literal translation, you go to Google and nine out of 10, it will be wrong.
Right.
You need to actually, in order to translate something, you need to do it in a way that Jose in Mexico will understand it and Pepe in Argentina will understand it.
Right, because there is the dialect change.
Everything.
What was going to be my next question is how do you make something cohesive, because different countries use different words and they have different phrasings.
First of all, you need to find out what are the market you're talking to. If it's the market is just Mexico or the Caribbean or Argentina, you're fine. If you actually have to actually do something that it will be understood in Argentina, in Colombia, in Mexico, in Puerto Rico, etc., now you have to actually be very careful.
When I was looking at your resume, I saw that you went to college in Puerto Rico, but so I'm assuming you're from there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that spoke to me because that reminded me a lot of my parents, because both of them, well, my dad's from Mexico and my mom's from El Salvador. But I just thought that was really like awesome that you pursued your college career there, but then you had to make that difficult decision of like coming here. I just want to know more about that like thought process, because my parents, for them it was like all right, we need to do this because we need to go make money. So I'm assuming maybe it's the same thing, but you pursued a big career,
I actually, my mother insults me every time. She feels insulted every time I tell her that. I actually, since even before I went to college, I wanted to actually go to college here in the US.
Oh, wow.
I'm actually glad that I got the education that I got and got it in Puerto Rico, and it was actually very good and very competitive and everything. But literally, I had as a goal to move to the US, and actually I did move to the US within a month of graduation. Wow. And even I actually had there's a lady present, I will say goals. I will have the goal to say to someone, I had a teacher that offered me on graduation that he offered me a job at John and Rubicam in Puerto Rico. And I said, no, I'm leaving to the US. And I didn't work in advertising until almost 3 years later.
Paco, I do have a question. I teach Hispanic media in the US, and one of the things I'm fascinated is to try to figure out what are the common denominators of values between the Hispanics that live in the US. What I'm trying to say with this is, I explain to my students that just because you are Hispanic, that doesn't mean that you like tacos and guacamole, right? I do. I love them, but that is not the point. But we tend to put everybody in the same boat. However, I do think it's certain values, what I call cultural values, that we all Hispanic share inside the U.S. What do you think those values would be?
Definitely, first one is family. We are family. We're very family oriented, everything like that. We treat our parents very differently than American kids actually treat their parents. I mean, it's actually like a matter of
100%.
Like elders, that grandparents are very important. Like you just saw the movie
Coco.
Thank you.
Oh wow! Actually,
it is. There you go. Stuff like that. They actually keep those traditions very, very important. Family. Kids, when I started advertising was extremely different for Hispanics than it is now. And in the 80s, and even before that, it was, you're Hispanic, dad has to have a mustache, they have to have 2 kids, the boy slightly smarter than the girl, and the girl and the mom has to have long hair, and she has to be wearing an apron because that's the way it is. Come on.
Yeah. You talked about how you find your market. Are there different Latino markets within the U.S. that are like?
Yeah, I can tell you a couple of them. The New York market is different from the Miami market, is different from the Chicago market, is extremely radically different from the West. Example. Let me give you this example. Telemundo and Univision. I'm sure that at some point you have to probably look at them for a moment. Mm-hmm. You see the East Coast, usually they complain that how come you watch Telemundo and Univision and the only thing that you see is actually Mexican bandas just playing whatever they're playing, or the novelas are Mexicans, or everything is Mexicans. We have so many great author stuff and everything. We can have millions of people on the East Coast. However, the bulk, more than 60% of the market, it is LA and Texas and Arizona and everything. If anyone in Miami sneezes, in LA they have a pneumonia already. So that meaning that what they are the ones that say, Telemundo is in Miami, Univision is in Miami. All the stuff is recorded in Miami, which is actually could not get more Cuban, or Colombian or Venezuelan than that, or Puerto Rico here, in Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic in here in New York. And what you see on the TV is 90% Mexican. Why? It's because of that.
So I was looking at your resume, and there's so many things on there. There was so many awards, so many different positions you had. You were executive producer at Nickelodeon, everything.
I'm a creative writer. It's right there. No, I'm just kidding. I have to. Yeah. No, thank you.
Yeah, but I was just wondering, like, for example, for somebody like me and Emma, like, what advice would you give us? Because, especially for people of color, sometimes it could be harder for us to get these jobs. But obviously, you proved that you could do anything at this point. So, yeah.
My stock answer with that is usually used to be for my interns and everything. Go on Monday to school, change majors. No, just kidding. Just kidding. But I used to tell them that a lot. Just like that. This thing that I have always tell them is that you need to start from the bottom. You need to start, work longer hours, work harder, and everything like that. If you like it, and if you're good at it, stay. The money will follow eventually. Mm-hmm. I started in 1989 it was like $12,000-$15,000 a year, something like that. I moved to Miami, it doubled. I moved to Telemundo, it went higher and then higher and then higher and higher and higher. And then I moved to New York, forget about this. It's like, it is. But the thing is, different from being an accountant or being a lawyer or being a lawyer is doing homework all day, basically, or doing other things and everything. This is something that you don't say. Basically, you sometimes feel kind of embarrassed that you actually earn money for doing the stuff that you're just basically having fun. If you really love it, you're having fun all day. And you work until 5 or 6 o'clock and you sometimes says, oh, I have to go home. Or you're never off the clock because you're always at home with a notebook. We're actually going out later on for the weekend. I already put my pad and a bunch of stuff just because you never know when it's going to happen. So, and that would be just love it. You're going to have days that you're going to hate it, take a break for a weekend, and then come back again on Monday with another reason, just looking for another side.
My last question to you is, first off, thank you.
Anytime.
Your time. And so you also have such a range of material that you work with, from news to like HBO material, and then also the kids stuff. So going back to that creativity, how do you apply that creativity in those different directions? Is it the same process, or do you have to think differently for each?
Yeah, basically it is the same process. Now, when we used to work on Nickelodeon actually had a very specific thing because it's actually kids thing. And those of you who actually watch Nickelodeon, not now, but 20 years ago, it was a very different animal. Nickelodeon became Nickelodeon became something great because they actually had a thing. You don't talk down to kids. You grow down. You don't expect them to grow up, you grow down. Literally. The first day that we were at Nickelodeon, they would actually do us a seminar that it was called Grow Down, and they would tell you, first of all, smell a crayon. They will give you a crayon. You smell it, and they would say, this is the song where we want you to go when you were in kindergarten or something like that, and everything. And then sit on the floor, and we actually look at everything like a kid. And why do we do these things? Because we can. And used to be the slogan for Nickelodeon, because we can. And it was very different. HBO is a different animal because basically you're talking to adults. You could actually be talking about Sesame Street for once, that we actually have Sesame Street now. Or you could actually talk about Cinemax After Dark. Mm-hmm. You know, it's two totally different. Or The Sopranos and, you know, everything else. Or Game of Thrones. Creativity is the same. It's just basically how you're going to actually apply it. It's just getting different sounds, you know.
Yeah. Thank you.
Paco, we appreciate so much your time.
No,
again, this is your house. Please, anytime we're here to keep having these conversations. I love it. That's where I'm doing it.
I'm delighted. I'm actually so happy that I could actually help. And if you guys actually keep my numbers, keep my information, whatever you guys need to talk about, I'm here.
Thank you.
And the way that it's going is going to be for a long time.